Okay, we are now recording Python Part 1. Not quite. We're going to go through regular expressions first. Okay, how many people have worked with regular expressions before? Okay, I usually hear a couple of groans on that. Regular expressions are kind of like that, that left-handed cross point with a flexible neck that if you need them, there's nothing like them, but you don't use them often enough to retain how to use them. At least that's been my experience. If you have something where you're trying to look for something that's kind of exotic, think about using a regular expression. That's a general guideline. So what is a regular expression? It's used for string processing. Perl was made for string processing, so it's got a lot of that in there. Python has it too. It's often abbreviated as regex. It's one of those things you just have to know, like it's LaTeX, not latex. I had to learn that. I learned a lot of my vocabulary by reading it. I didn't know any different. Okay, you got three parts to a regular expression. You have the search pattern, and these kind of remind me there was a commercial a number of years ago, and basically these people were making trick basket shots, and they made one that was through the parking lot, down the roadway, over the interstate into the net, nothing but net. That's the idea of regular expressions, that if you have it where you have some of this and maybe some of that, and then the common example is how many different forms would a email address have? I mean, you can have just a text string, and then you have a dot, and then you have an at somewhere, right? Some of them are something dot something at something.com. And evidently people know about these text strings, as they use them to harvest email addresses off of websites. That's why you have the one where you got to count how many stoplights, because somebody's figured out how to pull in the website, pull all of the email addresses of it, and send it spam. Some people clearly do not have enough to do. Okay. Carlos, y'all hearing me okay? Alex? Okay, it sounded like brake squelch. It sounded like yes, okay. All right, so you have the search pattern, you have what you're looking for, you have the input string, and then you have the search engine. The search engine is a function of whatever language you are using. What can regular expressions do? We use them for searching. You can also use them for find and replace. Use with care. Okay, I guess with an IT store, you got to start out there I was. Okay, there I was. We had just finished making a major upgrade, and somebody decided they didn't like the convention _T for table variables. So they decided to replace everything with _T, and they basically decided just to take it out. Now, I see some alarm looks. Your instincts are strong with you. That's good. They broke the application. It took us 3 days to get it back going again. Because it turned out that also, that not only did that get the underscore at the T, which indicated a table variable, it also got it in the middle of the middle when it could say something like people table. And when you did that, this being a database, it no longer could reach the table. I guess they needed a better regular expression, right? Okay, you have data cleanup. That's when somebody wants to report and they say, why can't we pull up all the Chevrolets? Well, that's because they spell it Chevrolet, they spell it S-H-U-V, and they spell it Chevy, they spell it S-H-I-V-V-Y, and they E-I-E and all that. So using a regular expression, you can go clean all of that, put up a Chevrolet on it so that you can put a constraint on it so that they won't put anything in there they won't. Renaming files. Example of this is I do checklists. What happens, the checklists need to have the checklists are associated with a particular type of system. So I can say, give me everything in this part of this particular type of system, and everything that's SQL Server 2016, and rename it from version 1 release 3 to version 1 release 4. You do that with PowerShell script, boom, you're done. Drinking coffee while you're waiting. You're drinking coffee while you're waiting, it's almost like you're not working. Okay, some common regex applications. By the way, can you all see the presentation? Okay, just want to check and make sure everybody can do that. Splitting input strings into substrings based on separators specified as patterns. How many people have heard of a CSV file? Okay, what was the examples you used with it? How did you learn about it?
Just like an Excel, like a spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's an Excel spreadsheet waiting to happen, right? Excel likes to put Excel will pull that in and they'll put them in columns for you so you don't have to type them and all that. First time we did that, we thought that was magic. We're still getting over this little device you had, and instead of having to tab over with everything, you had this device you can move, and you had this little arrow that moved. We thought that was pretty neat. Y'all looking at me? Yeah? Yeah, I'm that old. Where did regular expressions come? Somebody thought of them? Okay, you had the Unix version, you had the Perl version. Unix is older, and Perl is newer. I'm pretty sure if you go on it, anything you do with IT, there's at least 2 opinions on it, and that's that there's one person in the room, right? There's people that swear by either one of them. Okay, how to regexes Perl. I'm trying to remember. I think we're done with our Perl things. I think the next script you do is Python. But if you want to Perl one too along with it, you can go ahead and do that too. Okay, don't see a lot of a reaction. That's fine. All right, you got your way of defining things. You can use a slash mark, you can use brackets. And there's your basic syntax, there's your input, there's your engine right there, that equal tilde, then your search pattern string, then you get an output. Okay, and what happens is if you use an if, it doesn't care how many times it's true. If it's true once, it's true all the time. Don't ask me what a taco cat is. All right, you have the equal tilde, you have the exclamation tilde in case you want to say not equal to. All right, now I'm going to okay, in regex in Python, you got a module called re. Okay, if you do an R prefix, what it does is it treats everything like a character. You don't have escape characters or anything like that. That's how it does that. Okay, you see one sample syntax there. It returns an object. Okay, when something returns an object, what does that mean to you? It should have two things, right? Or at least it could have two things. Objects have and see when you define an object, what do you define for it? Just some of the things. You haven't forgot C yet, have you? Okay, maybe I'm doing old syntax. We used to do it, and you had some stuff you put up here called those fields, or what's another name? Would be another name for that? Okay, your class definition, you have two parts of it. What would be the two types of things you define? Like, for example, if you have class car, what would be some of the attributes of car? Make it model. There you go. Methods that do, hopefully it turns. Hopefully you would start. Almost as important, it would have a stop method, right? Yeah. Okay, so when something says an object, I'm saying, well, I might look up that match object, see what it's got. There might be some things I need. Maybe that you can set a option. Maybe it can tell you how many times it found it. You know. And look at it, it says several methods for working with characteristics of the match, so as where in the input string the match occurred. Okay, mechanics of matching. Basically, we visualize that it pulls it in the character at a time and evaluates it, but it's more complicated than that. And it kind of reminds me of optimization in SQL languages. I'm not sure at this point anybody knows how Oracle SQL optimization works, including some of the Oracle people. So, but you know. Okay, now look in the mechanics of match and look right down the middle where it says hello sweetie. Well, if you're looking for hello, hey or hello or hi and sweet or sweetie, when it gets hello sweet, that meets it and it stops. So if you're looking for it to return hello sweetie, it would not do that. Okay, I said, well, maybe you don't want it to match more than once. Use a global modifier, which helps you with that. Okay, the good news for regedit meta characters. You ever take a look at a regedit expression? You're sitting there saying, I don't even know where to start on it. Actually, remind me, I got something to help you out on that a little later. Well, those meta characters where you can have this, some in column A or some on column B, so it's pretty much the same on all the languages. That's good. I usually have to look them up just before I use them because they're pretty arcane and pretty compact. Write something down before I forget it. Okay, at line and word boundaries. Okay, basically the character forces you to do it at the beginning of the input string, like if you were pulling things in from a text file, it would do it at the beginning of that line. If you want to do it on the end of the line, I believe it's a $sign. Okay, then you have that /B, which that is a word boundary. You're either going from not a word to a word, you're going from a space to a word, or word to a space. My friend with his _T, if he would have put /B at it, we might have not had the harassment we did. Okay, looking at character class, let's look at the bottom line is the bottom there. You got C, G, and L in brackets and area. You can say Carrie, Gary, or Larry. Sounds like a 70s comedy show, but did some of you use regex already? I think you did that in one of the labs. I saw it from some of y'all. You had to match vowels, so you basically said brackets A, E, I, O, U. Yep, that's a regex. That's a regular expression. If you didn't know what it was, you just used one. Okay, instead of going A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, Y, et cetera, and so on, you can specify a range. I find that useful because a lot of times when I'm cleaning up serial numbers or something like that, I want to strip out anything that's a letter. I've had that application before. Okay, look at the negation operator. You have caret Z app, and it'll match cap or map. I suppose it'll match nap too. That's a pleasant thought at this point, but not app or zap. The interesting thing is app is if you don't have a character at all. Okay, there's some cases I found out that when there is cases where you have a special character embedded in that's a part of a language, you will inevitably have a reason where you have to treat that as a regular character. It just seems to happen. I named a database np-nnptc, had a dash in it. Well, it turns out that particular language, a dash in there means it's not a literal, and it didn't know what I was talking about, so I had to learn to enclose it with brackets so it knew what I was talking about. Okay, and if you look, it says string interpolation. That means if you put a string variable in there, it'll fill the string variable in for you. Those of us that are old school really love that, because it used to be that you'd have to sit there and you'd have to sit there and substring and you'd have to concatenate it and put it all together. That's kind of nice. Okay, and you got the pipe operator, which is an OR. Okay, and you can extract substrings. Okay, a quantifier means allows you to repeat things when you're in your search string without typing them in. Okay, when they say quantifiers are greedy, what happens? They won't go through the whole string and find the optimum. They're kind of like the first one they search for. They throw their hands up and they're done. That's just the way they are. And you have to understand that, because if you're saying, why does this not work? And if you don't want them to be greedy, there's things that you can do to put a question mark, and there's things you can do to make them not greedy. Okay, you got the /I for case insensitive. I have to keep remembering that. I come from Windows. Windows is case insensitive. PowerShell, which is the Windows scripting language, is case insensitive. Python is case sensitive, so if you say capital P print instead of small p, it'll just look at you. That was my second thing I figured out about it. Okay, global matches when you want to find all of the matches. And you got a switch in Perl, and Python uses a method, re.findAll. Got a way of handling multi-line put strings, real long regexes. Okay, search and replace. Okay, and I'm kind of oriented on it because I'm keeping in mind the assignments you're going to end up having on this. You're going to have one which is a regex assignment, and you're going to have your second Python will be another right triangle. Okay, got some regex assignments here. I'm going to switch over to another tab. Okay, did a website come up? Okay, this website is kind of your laboratory for building a regular expression. If you want to build it, make sure it works before you stick it in your code rather than keep on running your code to figure out why it don't work. You can use this site. Okay, and just listen, and they also explain to you down in the tools. They explain to you what's going on. This looks to me like you're looking for everything that's capitalized, and you're doing a global search. And that's what it looks like's happening there. Okay, so that's regular expressions. Like I say, we learn by doing. You will become acquainted with that with your next lab. Okay, I'll start and stop again.